the SBMC Chairman of Katsina State, Alhaji Bello Chirumai Ngawa, all directors from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, SUBEB, STEP, and SAME that are here present, the ES from the 34 local government areas of Katsina State, the 12 zonal coordinators assurance from the Ministry of Education, and SUBEB, representative of Isa Keta Provost, representative of FCE Provost Katsina State, SPC Test and Agile, all invited guests, Assalamu alaikum. Our dear facilitators that are here with us and the media people that are here, you are all welcome to this very important training. With the permission of the chairman of this training or gathering, I would like to invite the permanent member to SUBEB to give us the opening prayers. Honorable Rabiu Idris Puntua, the floor is now yours for the opening prayer, sir. Thank you. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, sir. As we have gathered here today for the stakeholders engagement and sensitization meeting, I would like to invite the director PRS from SUBEB to give us the objective of this program. Sir, over to you. So please join me to welcome the PRS director with a big clap, please. Thank you very much. Director, Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah allazi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda wa ja'ala az-zulumati wan nur thumma allazina kafaru bi rabbihim ya'dilun. Sir, permit me to stand on the already established protocol. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Objectives for the establishment of Education Service Delivery Unit, ESDU, by the State Universal Basic Education Board is to enhance education management through technology and data-driven strategies by 1. Establishing framework for data collection and analysis to support evidence-based policy and resource allocation. 2. Implementing technology for accurate, timely tracking of school operations, teachers' performance, attendance by education managers, transitioning or migrating to digital system such as EMIS, monitoring and evaluation, and school support visits for efficient management of education. Leveraging data for school improvement and aligning plans with states and national goals. Ensuring compliance with education standards through real-time data insights and feedback mechanisms. Providing transparent access to performance data driven evaluations based on data. And lastly, training stakeholders on digital tools to sustain and expand tech-driven initiatives. Jazakumullahu khair wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much. That has been the aims and objective of this stakeholders engagement and sensitization meeting organized by State Universal Basic Education, Katsina State, as unveiled by the Director PRS of the SUBE. Please, another big round of applause for him once again. Thank you very much. In the course of starting the program, there is one item which I have skipped, that is introduction, because of the time factor. Permit me to continue like that, Mr. Chairman, sir. So, inshallah, we are going to now call on Chairman Subeb, Executive Chairman Subeb, to deliver the welcome address. Mr. Chairman, sir, the floor is now yours. Please join me to welcome Chairman Subeb with a big clap, please. Thank you very much. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. The Executive Secretary, Science and Technical Education Board, the SA Girl Child SA Executive Secretary Sami, the board members of SUBEB, or permanent members of SUBEB and TSB, our Royal Father, the Endekan Katsina, Chairman SBMC of the state, Education Secretaries here present, Directors of Ministry and SUBEB, other stakeholders, gentlemen of the press, Assalamu alaikum. It is my honor and privilege to be here with you today to welcome you to this stakeholders engagement for this program. Katsina State is a state that is committed to transforming education. And here we are today to engage ourselves with the strategies and ways of making our education system in a digital way. Gone are the days where you only engage teaching and learning using only chalk and paper or pencil, pen and paper. Katsina State, with the intervention from BESDA, test projects, Agile, is leading the way in the nation. We are all aware, or I think some of us knew, that the intervention of BESDA, which we have leveraged to have this program in place, is only present in 18 states of the Federation. And with the blessing of Almighty, we have the second BESDA, which is test projects. It is only in 3 states of the Federation. Fortunately, Katsina State inclusive. All these projects, including Agile, have made tremendous improvements toward both basic and secondary education in the state. This is in line with the programs and agenda of His Excellency Malam Diko Omarada, PSG, the Governor of Katsina State. He have leveraged so many resources in the education sector. Our schools have tremendously changed since the coming of this administration. Many new schools were built, The old ones, a lot of them were rehabilitated. There are additional water points that are provided in the schools. Likewise, toilet facilities is all considered. We are all aware, Malam Duke Umarata, due to his commitments, he have recruited 7,325 teachers in the education sector. And inshallah, in this new year, 2025, more are coming. It is on this note, I'm calling the attention of all the stakeholders that His Excellency have made all the provision that is supposed to be provided in the education sector. What remains now is for us, the stakeholders, to make the best use of these provisions so that we can bring the desired change in the education sector in the state. With these few remarks, I welcome everyone, and I wish us a fruitful deliberation for this engagement. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. That has been the welcome address by the Executive Chairman Sube Alhaji Kabir Magaji. Please, another big round of applause for him once again. In the course of his welcome address, we have heard that Katsina State government is really doing very well in transforming the educational sector from analog to digital. This is really commendable, and we have witnessed the huge number of teachers recruitment, and Mr. Chairman also promised that His Excellency will do more, inshallah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, with this good news. Thank you very much. Please, another big applause for this. The next thing on the agenda, we have the Executive Secretary KTDMB that will deliver the speech on the need for digital transformation, but unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, he is on his way, but we are going to skip with your permission, sir. And Her Excellency, the Honorable Commissioner also, who is supposed to be represented by the Permanent Secretary, and also the PAMSEC is away for another official engagement, so we are tendering the apology, Mr. Chairman. With this, PRS Embassy, PRSAC, are you set? Okay. So we are going to skip that also, but permit me, Mr. Chairman, to invite our resource person, that will be the first one, who is Hassan Abdulkadir Rimi, to give us the facilitation on this very important meeting. Hassan Abdulkadir Rimi, is he here? The floor is now yours, sir. Please join me to welcome our facilitator with a big round of applause, please. Malam Hassan Abdulkadir Rimi is here to give us a presentation on the background of Katsina State education system. Malam Hassan. I think the presentation is in flash. We are going to witness it, and inshallah, as soon as the stage is set, Malam Hassan will take over and continue with the presentation. Another important information that I would like to pass is, after this meeting, there will be another engagement with the Executive Chairman, with all the education secretaries from the state. So please endeavor to stay behind, please. Thank you. Wala Hassan. Okay, with this, I would like to also call on all the presenters, that is the facilitators, to forward their presentation on flash so that they will take time, and before the start before the presentation start and put it in the system so that it will be easier done. Thank you very much. It's now time for Malam Hassan Abdul Qadir Rimi. Malam Hassan, are you set? So almost set. So as soon as you are set, let us know so that our dignitaries will hear you very well. All resource persons, please, they should forward their presentation in a flash. To save time, please, all presenters should forward their presentation to the secretariat so that they will load it in the flash in the system. To save time, please, all other presenters. So thank you very much for your time, and it's now time to give the floor to Malam Hassan Abdul Qadir Rimi to start with the presentation on background on Katsina State education system. Please join me to welcome Malam Hassan Abdul Qadir Rimi with a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Malam Hassan, Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على نبي الكريم. Mr. Chairman, sir, permit me to stand firmly on the existing protocol. There is a slight change on the title of the presentation. The presentation initially is supposed to cover the current challenges of educational management in Katsina State. But I feel this is the direct contact with the issue at stake. Education Service Delivery Initiative. This is indeed the main focus of my presentation. However, I would like to move further to begin with an appetizer before the real appetizer. If one is asked, what exactly is the most fearful enemy of a school? One begins to ponder on the answer to this great question. It's a brain tosser. All the way, if one is challenged to identify or respond to the question, one begins to ponder what exactly is the most fearful enemy of a school. To cut the story short, fear is the most challenging enemy of a school. Fear in all respects. Fear of failing exams, fear of punishment, and fear in its complete dimension. Now, let me take this advantage to share quickly with you the research finding of a neuroscientist from Eastern Europe. The research influenced decision-making in global education. This neuroscientist about 2 decades ago, took about 5 years to embark on a study. In fact, the scope of the study was to find out if a person learns something, which portion of the brain will that knowledge or skill will stay, so that when such a person wants to retrieve the information or the knowledge, then he will quickly get it. This was the focus of the study. Now, this scientist believed that human skull is divided into 2 parts. Half of it, which is the front, is an empty space. There's nothing in this part of the human skull. Then half of it at the back accommodates the human brain, which is like just a small ball. Now, according to the scientist, he says that the human brain controls every aspect of human existence, so that the brain itself is divided into so many components, so many parts, and each part is assigned a task. Now, each part is assigned a task. For instance, sight is located here, directly at the back. This is in charge of seeing. So that at any rate, if you want to confirm this, if someone is in front of you, now try to focus your eyes directly to this part of his body. Within no time, he will just turn up. He will turn back. Meaning that this portion of the brain is assigned to take care of sight, of seeing. Now, he went on to study. At the end of the day, he realized that whatever you learn, whatever you study, and you are able to understand that knowledge or have that information, it will store at this particular part. That this particular part, which is a little bit ahead of your ear, above your ear, your right ear, there and then everything you learn stays there. And if in case of anything, something hits this part, you will lose your memory. Another important thing the researcher discovers is that this particular portion of the human brain accommodates emotions, accommodates happiness and unhappiness. All feelings, all emotions are stored here. So learning is stored particularly here. If something happens, you are hit here, you will lose your memory. So the scientists realized that this particular space accommodates 2 important things: happiness and unhappiness. So it is important that anything that will cause unhappiness in a child or in a learner, nothing goes into stay, because the 2 things that are accommodated here, happiness and unhappiness, one can only stay, the 2 cannot stay together. So one will accommodate, only one is accommodated, the other is not accommodated. So this particular finding of this neuroscientist influenced decision-making education globally. That's why some states in the country, in the whole world, are opposed to beating, to punishing, to making children unhappy in school. That's why some states even ban beating. The whole idea is that fear is central to learning. It has great implication on learning. So it is very critical that we understand that learning can only happen in a situation where there is no fear. Now, my introduction to this presentation is very, very key, because in 2017, Nigeria's performance management reforms under the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation initiated service delivery unit in ministries, departments, and agencies. That is the genesis of establishing service delivery unit. The scope is to target performance management and strategic project delivery. 2 issues: performance management and then delivery of project goals. The approach is result-driven, emphasizing performance and accountability. Another important element, accountability and result-driven activities. It enhances efficiency in service delivery. Therefore, Education Service Delivery Unit will address 21st century challenges in basic education in Katsina State. So current challenges of education in Katsina State will be squarely addressed by the ESD. Next slide. My argument then is Education Service Delivery Initiative will address systematic challenges, ensure equitable service delivery, promote community engagement, and enhance educational outcomes in basic education. This is my argument. If you have any challenge, raise it up. Next slide. Good. The scope of my presentation has 6 components: introduction, learning outcomes, drivers and enablers of effective ESDU, expected sections of ESDU, and synopsis of 21st century basic education challenges in Katsina State, and then conclusion, which is the last component. Next slide. By the end of this presentation, participants should be able to, 1, explain key drivers and enablers of effective education service delivery, which by implication addressing current challenges of basic education in Katsina State. Discuss some sections of education service delivery unit. Then brainstorm, if time permits, on some 21st century challenges of basic education in Katsina State. Next slide. Drivers and enablers of effective addressed to current challenges of basic education in Katsina State under the auspices of ESDU. Access and enrollment. This is very critical. Under this component, there are 3 elements. Number 1, gross and net enrollment rates. We need to know that. School participation, that has to do with gender parity, marginalized groups, then availability of schools within reasonable proximity. The UN stipulation is that 3 kilometers radius, but things are changing. In Katsina State, we have gone far to addressing this issue of school proximity. Another important issue is quality of education. Under this, we have 4 critical elements. Number 1, pupils-teacher ratio. This is very serious. In Katsina State now, the ratio in the primary is about 1 to 75 pupils or students. This is in contradiction to what operates in the national policy on education, because the national policy on education stipulates that it should be 1 to 35. Teacher qualification and training levels. This is also important because it strengthens quality. Curriculum implementation is also another element that focuses on attainment of goals. Availability of teaching and learning materials. This is also critical. It cannot happen. Education challenges cannot be addressed squarely without having enough of teaching and learning materials. Another component is learning outcomes. It's another critical component which is addressing 1, literacy and numeracy proficiency rates. We also need to capture that. We also need to capture performance in national assessment and exams. We cannot avoid that. This is an assessment column. We have to do that. We have to address that issue. It's very, very critical at the national level, at the school level, at the regional level, within the state. Equity and inclusion, another important segment, enrollment and retention. This is very critical of disadvantaged groups. This is very, very essential because there's the issue of children with special needs, girls, and rural population. These are all disadvantaged groups. We have to capture them to ensure there is inclusivity in the system. Elimination of barriers to education access. Categorically, finance. Because of the striking poverty level in this country, there is also need to address that particular thing. Happily enough, the state government is trying hard because there is what we call the cash, what do you call it? Cash transfer. This is addressing that because this is significant because it reduces the burden, the financial burden of the parents to allow their children attend school because the situation is very, very critical, very tense. Under that, there are cultural and infrastructure decay or excuses relating to issue of disadvantaged groups. These are all disadvantaged groups. They suffer from these deficiencies. Now, there's also another important segment, infrastructure and facilities. We cannot address the current challenges of education in the state without focusing on ensuring that the number and conditions of our schools are adequate. There should be sanitation, facilities, and water access. There should be adequate water points in all our schools to ensure that there is provision for that. Next slide, please. Good. Availability of digital technological resources for learning. We are in the information age. We cannot operate well without having technology. We have a challenge of technology drive. There is issue of lack of adequate technology in most of our schools. There is also need for integration of technology into our education system. This is essential. Now, there's also another important component, which is teacher management, recruitment and retention rates. This is serious and is necessary. We also have to look at professional development opportunities. This is also significant. But the emphasis this state should do is to concentrate on school-based professional development. It is very economical, it is also result-oriented, and it is sustainable. Instead of spending huge amount of money sending or organizing a lot of workshops and seminars, it's better we emphasize on school-based professional development. You only train the head teachers and their deputies. Tell them to go back and step down. Step down, step it down, step the trend down at their schools. This is school-based professional development. It's economical, it is sustainable, and it is also result-oriented. So emphasis to addressing our current challenges should be on professional, school-based professional development. Another important thing is the M&E, data collection system, EMIS. This is why we're here, largely, to ensure that we integrate technology into our schools, into our education system. To do that, we need to collect data using the EMIS. We also have to ensure there is frequency of school visits. Frequency of school visits is also critical because it will feed the EMIS database. It will also allow us to have adequate information about what is going in our schools. Use of performance metrics for continuous improvement. There will be continuous improvement as a result of the routine in school visits we undertake. Governance and accountability. This is also critical. If you want to address current challenges of education in the state, there's need to focus on governance and accountability. Timely delivery of resources. We have to make sure that we deliver resources to our schools timely. Community and parental involvement. This is about engagement. We are trying to ensure that communities and parents own schools. They cannot own schools if they are not engaged in the process. So it is important we engage communities and parents in the course of school management. Transparency in resource allocation is obvious. Where there is no transparency, there will not be attainment of goals of the system. Lastly, financial efficiency. Budget allocation for basic education. We need more. More money is required to fund the education system, particularly basic education. I agree, the government is doing its best, but then we need more. Per pupil expenditure. We have to tailor our expenditure in our schools to per pupil, to pupils. Let us not simply send resources without thinking of the number of pupils in the school. So there's always need to ensure that the resources we allocate to schools are paired according to number of pupils. That will reduce wastage, that will promote accountability, and that will also improve on result-oriented outcome. Resource utilization rates. We need that rate. We need to know how far are we managing our resources. Then, the next slide, please. Now, the unit we're envisaging should consider some sections or schedules. Number one, there should be a scheduled officer in charge of access and equity. He or she should focus on increasing enrollment, addressing disparities in the system. There should also be another scheduled officer handling quality assurance, QA, in addition to quality control. This is what is neglected in our system. We focus on quality assurance, we remain silent on quality control. So it should go together, it should go hand in hand. Quality assurance and quality control should, I think, is good that the basic education system in our state should now focus on margin of aligning quality assurance and quality on control so that they go together. We should not allow only our department of quality assurance silencing the issue of quality control. It's important. To do that, we have to ensure adherence to education standards and curriculum implementation. It's important. Then, teacher supply. There should also be a scheduled officer handling teacher supply mechanism. In this, manages recruitment, training, and deployment of teachers. These are the three key elements in managing teachers. That scheduled officer should focus on that. M&E, which is the heart of the unit. There should be a scheduled officer handling monitoring and evaluation. He or she should give us information, should be tracking performance or learning outcomes and school condition. He or she should also devise mechanism to ensure that there is promotion of ICT integration in basic education at the school level. Next slide, please. Finance and admin. There should also be another scheduled officer to handle this important component of finance. He should handle resource allocation, resources to be disbursed or to be allocated to schools. He should handle that. Or he or she, let me be gender sensitive. Then, procurement and budgeting. These are also components of the finance and admin unit or section or scheduled officer of that new unit we are envisaging. Data and research. This is another critical component. We cannot operate without research. We cannot. It is only when you embark on research, then you get objective outcome of what operates in our schools. It's also important. Community engagement, another critical element. There should be a scheduled officer under this unit who will handle these key elements. Building rapport, building partnership with local communities. This is, and parents and other stakeholders. This is where school-based management committee comes in. This is critical. Another important component, which is in relation or aligned with community engagement, is encouraging participation in school management. also link to SBMC. Thank you. Go to the next slide. Good. Infrastructure and development. Another schedule officer under this component should be giving us information about how he or she oversees continuous maintenance and upgrading of school facilities. You cannot manage or you cannot address current challenges of education in the state without focusing on overseeing continuously about maintenance and upgrading of our school facilities. This is a serious challenge. Most of our schools, you realize that there is beautiful structures, adequate number of infrastructure, but unfortunately maintenance issue, the maintenance culture is poor. The school and the community cannot manage the facilities. So it's also critical, and it's another important segment if we are seriously going to address the issue of challenges in our current system. So the communities and the schools should also cooperate and develop maintenance culture. It should be institutionalized. There is no maintenance culture in our schools, so it should be institutionalized. It can be institutionalized if and only if the community is involved in the affairs of the school. And this can be successfully tackled when we ensure that we strengthen the activities of SBMC in our schools. Policy and planning. There should also a schedule officer who will be in charge of all these two important elements, aligning unit activities with national and regional strategies. We cannot stay in isolation. We have to have synergy with policies, with organizations within the country and even outside the country, so that we learn from them. We also have to develop actionable policies. Let us not develop policies that can only work on paper. There should be actionable policies. Policies that are going to be implemented. They are implementable. They are actionable. In this case, we address the systematic challenges in basic education in the state if we align our activities with the national and regional and even global practices. Now, critical to the point I've been trying to make is that we look at these important critical challenges in our education system, which we need to do, which we need to address through the mechanism of education service delivery unit. Number one, inadequate funding. We need more. If you all the budget in the state government, if you can sink it to basic education, I think it can wallow it up because of the situation we find ourselves. Overcrowded classrooms, especially in urban schools. This is obvious. You see 200, 250 pupils in a class. This should be addressed. And it can be addressed with the establishment of this important unit. Teacher shortage and quality. We still need more teachers. I agree. Recent employment of over 7,000 teachers, as the chairman has said, is a fine development. It's a good development. And to improve the system. It's even improving the system. But we need more. It was just yesterday I was just going over a report from of my local government, EMIS local government. I happened to analyze the situation there. Then I realized that there are only about 700 and 200 teachers in the state. I mean, under the LGA, in the 85 primary schools we have in the local government. But then coming to look at the enrollment, the gross enrollment of the schools, which is about 48,000 students or pupils. Then I realized that we need about 1,070 teachers. 1,070 teachers against the 700 plus. So you see the gap, about 30-something%. So in this case, we still have this issue of shortage of teachers, shortage of qualified teachers. which is apparent in the system. So we need to address that because it's a challenge. There is also outdated curriculum. In fact, the curriculum we operate in most of our schools need to be revisited, need to be reviewed. The thinking and the innovative capacities of our learners need to be included, need to be captured in our curriculum. So that at the end of primary school or at the end of junior secondary school, which is a component of basic education, a student should be able to stand on his own, on her own. So if our curriculum was to take care of all these innovative and thinking abilities of the system, to be aligned in the curriculum, I think we won't have much of the problems we are facing in terms of entrepreneurship and self-reliance. Insecurity in some communities, this is obvious. Some of our schools are closed because of insecurity in the state. This is also a challenge, and this is also necessary to be addressed. Then there are digital device. We talk about that. There's also high dropout rates, lack of inclusivity, language barriers. English is not our mother tongue. There's that challenge. Something has to be done there. Impact of climate change. Climate change is also obvious. I think I need to, he cautioned me about time, but I think I'll take next slide, please. Good. Finally, let us know that current challenges of education in the state can be squarely addressed by the ESDU because it is result-oriented, because it enhances efficiency in service delivery to achieve goals, because it is part of the state government's performance management reforms agenda of the current government, because it requires strong will, strong political will, positive mindset to drive the process of efficiency, effectiveness, and addressing the numerous challenges of education in the state. I rest my case. Thank you so much. No, it's okay. Can I address an issue? I'm done. I bow.
Your paper, sir? Your book? Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan Abdelkader Rimi, for this wonderful presentation. Please, a big round of applause for him, please. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, sir, I would like to acknowledge the arrival and presence of the following personalities. First, we have the Dr. Isa Idris Zakari, the SUBEB Secretary. He is here with us. You are welcome, sir, once again. We also have the Chief Internal Auditor of the SUBEB, who is also here with us. Then we have also, let me be gender sensitive, Mr. Chairman, with your permission. We witnessed the arrival of Dr. Hindatu S. Abubakar, Acting Rector, KSTM. Ma, you are also welcome to this very important meeting. Then the SPC test also arrived, Hajia Binta Al-Momini. Then we also witnessed the arrival of Dr. Mustafa Shehu, who is the Executive Secretary, KTDMB. Sir, you are also welcome. We skip your presentation, but I think with the permission of Chairman, I will now call you to deliver with the speech on need for digital transformation. Sir, are you set? Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I will now call Dr. Mustafa Shehu to give us speech on the need for digital transformation. Please join me to welcome Dr. Mustafa Shehu with a big round of applause. Sir, you are welcome.
The Executive Chairman of SUBEB, Dr. Kabir Magaji, the Ndakan Katsina, who is also the PTA Chairman for the state, the State SBMC Chairman, the Executive Director of State Agency for Mass Education, and the Acting Rector of the Katsina State Institute of Technology and Management, Jahindatu, the permanent members of SUBEB, representative from LGAs and the project. Ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum. It is so important that this discussion is happening, because while other sectors of the global development are going digital, education cannot wait. Last week, somebody was saying, if based on the daily transaction each one of us do in the banking system, it is converted to physical, that if you want to buy data, you have to go to the bank. If you want to buy airtime, you need to go to the bank. If you want to transfer to someone, you need to go to the bank. If you ask yourself, how many times are you going to the bank daily? It will seem impossible. It means some of the participants will just get their house close to the bank to continue. That means technology has improved the way we do our daily transactions. Not only that, so many improvement in even transportation. Things that you have to travel to Kano now does not have to happen, because you can ask a delivery. Even within the town, if you want to buy something in the shop, you can actually call a delivery to deliver. That means if there is any other sector that should see technological advancement, it should be education. Because the more we produce children with technology touch, the more other sectors are improved automatically. The current situation happened to be what it is because we are carrying forward a lot of challenges. But definitely, education service delivery unit becoming digital is one of the best ways to produce real-time information. Last year, there was the annual convergence on education that happened in, I think, in Rwanda. So many countries were producing indicators live, saying currently the maternal mortality is at this rate, because every single hospital has a software. The moment a woman delivers, they will mention the gender of the baby. If the baby dies, they will mention. So they have the statistics. That means it will help in planning based on evidence-based data. This gathering is not only important because the stakeholders are here, but it is also so important that we need to ensure that education service delivery is given the right support. This database is relying on LGES, is relying on information. So one of the critical way it will work, so that next year when we come to do annual review, we will not only see that it is working, but we also see that it is working for the purpose of improving basic education. One is to ensure that those at the schools, communities, and LGA are giving the system the right information, the real information and quality information. If the information is so real and qualitative, but it is not given on time, it will also affect planning. So it is good that when we go back to the LGS, we amplify the importance of giving the information at the right time and the right information. It is also good that the system, based on what I saw, can track even locations. So it will stop the chances of people sitting under the tree to fill information and send it for sending purpose. Now it has to be at the point where it's supposed to be collected. And already I know that SUBEB has digitalized the attendance register. That means with the current information and is connected to the same system, Learner Unit Record Information Terminal is so important. When the student of Government Science Secondary School Ankara were kidnapped, 279 or thereabout, one of the biggest slap on Nigeria education system, and I would say it was that 4 major international news were reporting different figures. The attendance register itself was given an entirely independent figure, and the formasters were insisting it is correct. Information at the ministry was colliding with the one at the school, and the responsible officers were saying they insist it is correct. The amount of money given to the school for school feeding based on the number of children was the third correct, and it's not agreeing with both of the two, and the stakeholders were insisting it's correct. The general perception about who is in the school, according to the security managing the school, because there was a security checkpoint next to the school, were insisting that the number of children given to them by the army was also not agreeing with any of the 3 sources. Up to today, as I speak to you today, 11th of January 2025, there has been one newspaper in the world that kept reporting that 7 more children from Kankara in Katsina are yet to return, and they are relying on a data given to them. Up to today, if you check the news today, they will show you, and when you ask them, they will say the person gave us the data, signed that it is correct. So when the children were returned, we check and 7 are still missing, even when all the parents said all of our children are back. So you can see the implication of not giving the right information. So it is important. Now the stakeholders have done their best. They have done what they are supposed to do as policy makers, to provide enabling environment for the LGAs and the communities to provide reliable data. Excuse or complain is no more an excuse. When the data is there, don't procrastinate. Just upload it. Don't put off until tomorrow what you know you can do today. Several times, stakeholders will say, we are not giving the opportunity, especially, but the opportunity is there. It is one thing that a teacher did not attend lesson, but it is another thing that the teacher is complaining that quality of education is dropping down. You are hired to go to a class, you refuse to go. Now you are coming to a joint to sit down and say education is not moving. You are one of the biggest challenge, because you didn't even go to class. Until you are in class and humanly possibly you are delivering, that is when you can complain. But when you are not in class and you receive the salary and you use the salary, you can't complain morally. You can't even talk about it, because people that are in class complaining about it, you are one of the people they are complaining about. It is high time these things are happening. But the good thing this will do is it will link the resources government is putting in the school with the delivery and outcome. It is good that it's even called education delivery unit, system delivery unit, because when school is constructed, 100 million for example, when teachers are recruited, millions of money for salary, when instructional learning materials are procured, hundreds of millions. The only way there is value for all this investment is when the children in school are learning. When the learning outcome shows improvement, it means all of the investment is of value. But when there are nice schools, when there are teachers and they refuse to go to school and class and deliver a lesson, and the outcome is showing low quality, it means the investment is not commensurate to the value of outcome. But the only way to track it is to start having this advanced system. And I will still say it that we still have one of the best education system in the world, Nigeria. Yes, we have one of the best education system in the world. It's just that the mindset of citizens do not want to work. Why am I saying this? Go to any country in the world. The best doctors not from the countries are likely to be from Nigeria. The best teachers not from the country are likely to be from Nigeria. Go to anywhere. Germany, US. In fact, today, if UK will submit all non-citizens back to their country, their health system will collapse, because Nigerian doctors are the one holding their neck. It means we have the education. Where did they study? In our Nigerian universities. But the painful part is, some of them will study in our LEA, our senior secondary schools, our public schools, our public university. They will also work in our public facilities. And they will add all these documents. They will send to another country that they want to come and work. They will insist they have experience in primary health care in a village. But by the time they are in the airport, they will write about Nigeria and say Nigeria is not working. Then drop those documents. Don't go with them. Don't claim you did a primary in LEA. Don't claim you did government college. Don't claim you did ABU or BUK. Just say you are jobless and you didn't go to school, and you see if they will employ you. It means the moral thinking has to come back. We want to see where education service delivery unit will start reporting that parents are coming to school daily or weekly. 1, to thank the teachers for coming. 2, to appreciate the teachers. Even if it is 1 pack of chalk, let's parents contribute and feel that what the government is doing is in the interest of everyone. I wish us successful deliberation, and I'm sure we are heading to a way out, because once things are digitalized, even in your sitting room, you can simply see what is happening. And I will urge the stakeholders here to not only support this thing, but please be checking periodically on the dashboard, so that you can send suggestions to the policymakers. That is the only way we will improve. If the system is working, let us also support it. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, the Executive Secretary, Katsina Development Management Board, who also double the SPC Agile, Dr. Mustafa Shehu, with this wonderful presentation. So you made mention that our doctors studied in our schools, private, public, and whatever, but also sponsored by our government. So, thank you very much, sir. Please, a big round of applause for the SPC and Executive Secretary. So, Mr. Chairman, sir, with your permission, I would like to also invite this time around Malam Umar Faruk Bello, who will be our next resource person. Please join me to welcome Malam Umar Faruk Bello with a big round of clap, please. Malam, bismillah.
No? What is that? That's all. Yeah, go. Now, I am going to be very fast. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Okay, the executive chairman, Katsina State Universal Basic Education Board, mai girma 'yan ɗakan Katsina, the other distinguished guests, directors from SUBEB and the Ministry of Education, others, my brother, the chairman, SBMC Katsina State, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, education secretaries from Katsina State, LGES, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In fact, it's really a welcome thing. I could recall 11 years ago, I think with LRA and Katsina, we struggled to establish what was known as education, ERC education service data, service charter. And we have completed everything. The only thing that remained was launching. And this was done in November 2014. And I had to leave the service in December 2014. So it did not see the light of the day. I have the document. When I was given this task to do, I was just looking at the document. Everything was there, the charter was there, the speech of the governor, the speech of the commissioner, the speech of this and that were all there. But unfortunately, it was not launched. So I'm very happy
that today, I'm very happy today that, I've been invited to speak on this matter. We're talking about establishing education service delivery unit, but everything has a standard. And if we don't mind the standards, we'll bring everything and think it is the one that we need. So, that's what education should do. But certainly, if we are careful of our standards, then we know what we need to do. And first of all, let's agree as to the definition or the definition of the term education standard itself. So this is the education service delivery standards refer to the expected levels of quality, accessibility, and reliability of educational services provided to learners, teachers, and other relevant stakeholders. These are the key words: accessibility, quality, reliability. Like Malamina was saying, that it is no longer when you just go and write a report and then you submit and then you say you have submitted a report. That is not a quality report. Now there's real-time way of reporting data. You are there in the school, you are reporting, and the chairman, the executive chairman, or the commissioner can see you exactly on dashboard. We have, I think that data has been created this time, and you can have access to whatever is going on. So no more faking of data from anywhere. Education service delivery standards ensure that schools deliver high-quality services that support students' learning outcomes, academic success, and overall educational experiences. This is what we should prepare our minds to as when we prepare to establish a education delivery, a service delivery unit. Now, areas requiring standards in education. What are the areas that we require to establish standards in education? What are they? First of all, we say class size and teacher-pupil ratio. No matter how much you want to succeed, if you do not take care of your class size or the ratio of teacher, say you want to solve the problem of overpopulation, overcrowding in a class, you establish another, you construct more classrooms, then you have another deficit of teacher ratio. Because the teachers cannot be adequate. It means you will have to recruit more teachers to upgrade, to augment that number of classrooms you have, you have constructed. So then teaching quality, course availability, and timetabling. Timetabling is very, very important. There were times in this state when we even had to come out with a policy as to the number of periods per week per class, so that at least the children were no longer overloaded with crowds of materials, and at the end they achieve nothing. So it is very important that we arrange our timetabling. And of course, now we have seen that there is this issue of punctuality. Most of our children do not report to school, until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or even sometimes 10 o'clock. Now, if students report to school 10 o'clock, do you know the periods they miss? The first periods that are there are either English or mathematics. And psychologically, they are there for a purpose. They are there because it is assumed that children go fresh and they are ready to face any challenging subject. And that will be easy for them. Unfortunately, this is missed. Children miss this. And there is no remedial work by the teacher. And the teachers seem to be very happy about it because they have not taught. If you look at the timetable, generally you see the first periods are either English or mathematics or science. They are the challenging subjects. And if we are not mindful of our timetabling, it will always be like this, and we will continue to fail in English, we will continue to fail in mathematics, because no time is given for the teaching, because there is no adequate coverage of the curriculum. So timetabling is very, very important. Then teaching quality and teacher qualification. This is very clear. The kind of teaching we do, do we give it, do we really teach, or do we go and talk? Or do we carry a stick and start beating children? And whenever I see a teacher holding a stick in a class, I assume he's not teaching. Because the whole period will be spent by some of the children looking at the stick, whom it will land on, rather than what the teacher is saying. Of course. So it's very important we mind the quality of teaching we give and the quality of teachers we recruit. Then student support services such as guidance and counseling, accessibility and accommodation for learners with special needs. We all know that the blind, the crippled, the deaf, and all these things, we have to provide possibilities for them, accessibility for them to get learning, in the schools. In as much as we also want to include them in the mainstream. Availability of technology infrastructure and digital resources in schools, availability of other learning resources such as library and the research centers. Then assessment and evaluation of teaching and the learning processes and outcomes. So these are the areas. So what can we achieve? Okay, now get check about So service delivery standards can help in the following ways. Number one, it will enhance learners' satisfaction and effective learning outcomes. So I really congratulate the Executive Chairman, the Honorable Commissioner of Education for coming up with this. Because honestly speaking, it may take time, but with within the shortest possible time, honestly, you will see changes in education. You will see changes in learning and teaching. So it also improves teaching quality and teacher effectiveness. Because the teacher is no longer left to his fate. He's always watched. I remember a story whereby some teacher, when a teacher went to a class, he would start teaching, and then while he's teaching, they will be arguing with the children on a particular issue. So when he goes back to the staff room, he will check the book and you find that the children were correct and he was wrong. And the headmaster happened to observe this. So he once asked him, he saw the teacher going to the class. He said, class ne because he knew that the headmaster had noticed that he was not aware, he was not conscious of what he's doing. He was always arguing with the students in the class. And for that reason, he said, since then, it became his name, Malam Afafata. So you could see, there are a lot of Afafatas in the class who are not really properly monitored. Some just go and sit down and wait for the bell to go. And that's all. You wouldn't know. But with adequate monitoring and evaluation and this thing in place, when we evaluate and we really submit, and there is a unit, this unit will check any impunity. It will check any impunity, provided that there will be regular dissemination. Right? So it fosters, okay, so it says increasing efficiency and productivity. Instead of public funds being spent to people that are not serious, or instead of even duplicating certain projects, when you have a service delivery unit, you will know the needs requirements of every school on a dashboard. I could remember when we were first given appointment to go and teach. Then during it was then the former Kaduna State. There was, the chief inspector, I once said this at one forum. I said the chief inspector was a European. He was the former principal of Government College Katsina here, EPT Crampton. EPT Crampton was the CI when I was first appointed, or I was given appointment to teach, and when I was posted. And EPT Crampton was the CI. If you are given appointment letter, you must report to the CI department. You must report to him. He has a dashboard. He has, you see charts in his office. Teacher need in every school in the state. Is it English language teacher need? What language? All the schools then, there were no zonal offices then. So he would just see and he thought, okay, this is your chance now. You go to GSS Kafanchang. They need history teacher. And so I was posted. So that is what service delivery standard should be. Every posting should even go to it. They should be aware of the postings of teachers because they will help to monitor the needs of schools and will help monitor where schools are overloaded, are overbloated by teachers. Some schools have teachers that they don't even need, and they don't, they don't have the ones they need. So these are some of the things. So first, it also fosters accountability. Fosters positive and inclusive learning environment. If there is adequate distance and this data is always obtained regularly and is disseminated, at least all these things of issues of inclusiveness will be addressed. It also ensures accountability and transparency. So like Malamina was saying, the conflicting figures of enrollment, of the children that, Kankara children that were kidnapped, is because of this issue of accountability and transparency. I'm sorry, we have issues with figures. If I'm a boarding principal, I will inflate my number because it will attract more money for feeding. But I know the number of the students actually in my school. Whenever there is some benefit come to school, you increase the number. When there is something, then you lower the number. We are very, very, selfish with numbers. And this is very bad. It is very dangerous. And we are also poor in record keeping. We are very, very poor in record keeping. Not only maintaining the record itself, even putting the record. I remember a scenario whereby one lazy teacher, instead of him to go and take attendance in the afternoon and in the morning, he would sit in the staff room to record his attendance. So when he took attendance in the morning, he found a girl was present, and he did not go to the class and to mark the attendance. He assumed that all those that came in the morning were also there in the afternoon. So what happened? The following day, the parent of that girl came to the school looking for their daughter. Since she came to school, they never saw her. So what the headmaster did was to call the teacher, the class teacher. Please show me your attendance register. He showed in his attendance register that she was in school up to closing time. So when investigation when investigation started, the students themselves said that that girl left school immediately when they went out for break. When they went out for breakfast, she left the school and she never returned. Now, the teacher himself, now he is complicit in this regard because he is an accessory after the fact. He has helped screen the offenders. If he had reported, if he had noticed that she was absent, something, alert could have been raised so that at least the girl could be traced within possible limits. So that is why it's always to be very careful with the way we tamper with our records and keep them. So ensures accountability and transparency. Okay, I'm done with that. So now what are the templates that we should look at while establishing service delivery standards? Based on my experience, based on our struggles with Katsina. And I think I can always, whenever I go to ARC, Office of the Director, I always see that imposing picture. I am really happy about that. So what do we need? Templates for education service. First of all, there is service level agreement. We must agree. This is what we want to do. Number one, say service description for everyone. Everybody must know what his role is. Every member of the unit must know his role. You are a messenger, you are there, to communicate letters. You are a watchman, you should know what you should do. His schedule should be very clear to him. Everybody's schedule must be very clear. And so that is description for everyone, the service. Then service standards, response time, and resolution rate. Whenever something happens, quickly respond to it and resolve quickly. Then service hours and availability. You must always show when we have to be, when we say school starts by 7:30, school must start by 7:30. School closed by 2:30, school must close by 2:30. It is very important. We cannot just say, all right, school children can come at 9 o'clock and then can move to the class. Or 10 o'clock, they can move to the class. It doesn't help the system at all. Then contact information. If there is anything, should there be anything, drop a contact. Drop a contact. And that contact should be a hotline for the unit. If you have any challenge, call that contact. It's a hotline, and there should be somebody responsive enough. If he cannot respond immediately, he should communicate immediately to the person responsible. That's very important. Contact information is very important. Then, quality of service, QoS. Now, service description for each individual, besides what you should do, how your work is related to another person, and how it is distinct from the other person. That other one is description for each individual, and this one is how it is distinct between your job as a chairman and your job as a secretary, or your job as a student, or your job as a teacher. Performance metrics, uptime and throughput. That is, when shall we start and when shall we end? And what measures should we do to intervene quickly? Should there be any problem? Okay? Then continuous improvement plan. It is once you establish education delivery unit, it doesn't mean that you just sit down and relax. No. That is the beginning of your work has not just begun. That's just the beginning of your work. Because you will continue monitoring, you will continue receiving feedback, and then continue planning for improvement of the education sector. Then, what are they? You also have to have key performance indicators. You have to have key performance indicators. You say you want to improve attendance, you want to give money for attendance. What you will do is make sure that you look at the attendance register and see 100% attendance. That would be okay. If you want to get academic excellence, fine. At the end of social period of time, when these children should finish, we should expect to get this number of credits, 9 credits for each one of them, and so on and so forth. And then if you achieve that, they are if that's what you want, performance indicators. Or by the end of it, we are able to place children into various trades based on their skills and their capabilities. That too is an educational key point in Bank. So key performance indicator, name and description. Then target value and the measurement frequency. Sometimes we give them numbers. The highest, which one do you prefer? The highest coming from the highest to the last, maybe 1 to 5 indicators. Then data collection and analysis process is very important. Malamina has spoken about this one, and it's very, very important. We have to be very careful about the way we collect our data. Then action plan for underperformance. Prepare some action plan how you can, when there is underperformance, tell yourself the truth. We have not been performing very well. So what do we do? Let's prepare some action plan to bridge this gap. Criticize yourself. Examine yourself as a unit. Sit down with all your colleagues. All right, let's tell ourselves the truth. We have not been able to release the results for JSCE this time around. Why? Students were not able to go to secondary school SS1 because JSCE result was not out until second time. Why? Ask ourselves, and then remedy the situation. Prepare for the next session, so that there wouldn't be a repeat on that. Service catalog, service name and description. Maybe have have a name, a good name, like Katsina State education service delivery unit, and with beautiful words, service features and benefits. You list all the service features you deliver, and then the benefits that are there is very, very important. Then service level options, what do you aspire to achieve? Is it bronze, silver, or gold? I think we should all go for gold rather than any bronze. So ordering and delivery process. How do children enroll to school? This should be very clear. It's not just like so anybody can just walk into school and say, I want my child to be admitted. No, there should be a way by which should be a process through which children go to school and then they are enrolled, right? Then customer satisfaction survey. Surely we serve the public, and the public is our customers, and we really have to listen to them, and we have to go about, carry out survey, get information, collect data about how they feel about us, how they feel about education, and how we should remedy the situations. And then when we collect the data, analyze it, and bring it for dissemination. All stakeholders must be there to discuss the outcome of the data and then take a remedial course to solve the problem. Thank you, and thank you for listening. And bye. Shikena. Thank you.
That has been the presentation made by Malam Umar Faruk Bello on current challenges in educational management. Please, a big round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, service delivery. Thank you very much, sir, for this correction. Thank you. The next, with the permission of the chairman of this sensitization meeting, I would like to invite the next resource person, Baba Gana Mohammed Aminu. It's now time for you to grace this, to grace the podium and start with your presentation. Please join me to welcome Malam Mohammed Baba Gana. Malam Mohammed Baba Gana.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Permit me please to start on the already established protocol. I am Baba Gana by name, and I'm here to present on the Education Service Delivery Unit. So what we're going to do, this is going to be a more of an interactive session, because that's why we call this particular gathering today as stakeholder engagement. And for engagement to be effective, we need to hear from you, so that the inputs we are going to get from you are going to inform how the Education Service Delivery Unit is going to be established or formed within the education ecosystem, particularly in the State Universal Basic Education Board. One of the key objectives of the ESDU is to ensure effective and consistent use of Katsina EMIS system. Currently, there is an EMIS system that exists in Katsina State. However, this EMIS system is not put into full utilization. And one of the key reasons is because the EMIS system currently is used only on annual basis. And we collect data virtually only on annual basis. All of us, or some of us here, knows that every year there is an exercise that is conducted, and that exercise is called annual school census. That means that is the only time in a full calendar year, in 12 months, in 54 months, 54 weeks in a year, that we get to know what is the status of education system in our school as a comprehensive as it should be. However, one of the key problems, one of the key challenges is because this data having been collected over the period of 1 or 2 months, it has to undergo processing activities. And these processing activities will include data cleaning, data entry, then it will take virtually 2 months. That means 3 months or 4 months is already gone in a year. And before the results are published, half of the year is already gone. That means the decision-making process that has to be taken, at least one of the most important decisions that are taken every year, especially beginning in June and ending in August, is the state budgeting process. And that means by the time that budgeting process is going to be taking place at the state level, the state is going to be using an obsolete data to plan. And that means we are not planning for the good. So this is one of the important objectives of establishing the Education Service Delivery Unit. Second objective is to improve on the quality of education service across the state. Because beyond the typical EMIS that we know at state level, this particular system will give power to the school support officers, to the quality assurance officers, to the MIE, to the EMIS, to the ES, and virtually even to the governor to make decisions, because the system is going to provide a real-time dashboard. And the ESDU, as a unit, is supposed to coordinate this process. And that's why we can see in the innovation of the executive governor of Katsina State, he has established the Katsina State Management Board. There is a reason behind that, so that all the investment, foreign and local investment that is coming into Katsina State is going to be coordinated and managed. And that means ministries, agencies, and the functionaries of government will have to be reporting on that. And that means for education, education has to be also proactive in terms of providing real-time information, not only for that, but also for parents to decide, to know whether their children are learning or not. So this is one of the important aspects that this particular system is going to. But least to mention, another interesting function which the team are going to present later will be the scripted lesson plan. Because we know that traditionally or typically, as teachers, we are expected to develop a scripted lesson plan for us to deliver in classroom. And many of us, as a seasoned teachers, we have a lesson plan that we've developed and maybe improved in the first 5 years when we are employed into the service. And that means if today, as a mathematics or as English, basic science, or any subject teacher at school level, some of the teachers today do have a lesson plan that they have developed 35 years ago, and they are still using it. That means there is no innovation. However, there is a requirement in education, and that requirement is benchmark. We have a benchmark, EMIS, benchmark of minimum academic, EMIS achievement. So this benchmark is only 25% of what is expected in the classroom. So the teacher is expected to innovate around 75% in the classroom. That means you are expected, when you are teaching, for example, place value, you are expected to innovate. The only things you're going to take is what are the learning outcomes that are expected from the curriculum. Then what the learner is expected to learn. That means as a teacher, you are supposed to now innovate around that. So what the scripted lesson plan component of the system is going to provide is that teachers will be able to generate and use a scripted lesson plan that is developed by seasoned professionals. And this lesson plan is going to be improved every 2 years. So that means as soon as a teacher gets into the classroom with a smart device, with the Katsina EMIS application, mobile application, that teacher is going to have an updated, structured lesson plan that they're going to use. So that is going to standardize lesson plan across all schools. That is going to standardize the process of how learning is going to be delivered. But nonetheless, that is going to include formative assessment that the teacher should be able to use in classroom. That means if, the teacher time is going to be saved. That means the teacher can now invest the time that they usually invest in developing a lesson plan or assessment to now plan for how they are going to really deliver in the classroom. So this is just a synopsis of what is going to be expected from that system. So when we talk about quality, quality is not just about the quality of the content. It's about whether the learners are learning or not. So the quality of delivery is going to be managed by this system. Data-driven decision-making and planning process. We have many projects here. We have the test project, we have the BESDA one which has ended, we have Agile, and also there are many other projects that are being run in Katsina State within the education system. And it may come a situation whereby there is the need to decide which teacher is going to be trained, on what subject, or on which area. Currently, capacity development is done as a one ball for everybody. But for this particular system, it's going to help stakeholders to look at the system to see which teacher is having deficiency in classroom management or in subject content knowledge or in delivering multiple or differentiated learning approaches, teaching approaches in the classroom. So at that point in time, you could decide when you have 20, 30,000 teachers, how many teachers require training on a particular aspect. But not only stopping at that, the system is going to help in terms of school-based teacher continuous capacity development. This is already a policy enacted by the UBEC, but currently it's difficult to implement because people don't have the understanding of how it's going to be implemented. So part of what the ESDU is going to be doing is to ensure that capacity is developed, instructional leadership team comprising the head teacher, a senior teacher, and also SSO that is supposed to be managing that school will form a group. That means every week they're going to be meeting to decide. So we call it a cycle of inquiry. And the cycle of inquiry is 4 steps. Number 1 is investigation. You have to investigate what is happening in the classroom. Step number 2 is co-construction. So now together with the teacher, the ILT team from the LGA level and also the ILT at school level will be able to now sit together and co-construct the lesson that particular teacher is going to deliver. So this is the support that Education Service Delivery Unit is going to be bringing. The third step is to teach now. Then the fourth step is to analyze again, and the cycle continues. And the minimum cycles that are expected in a particular month is minimum of 2 cycles, right? So that is what we call the learning lab. One of the things is to also help stakeholders to monitor and evaluate education policies and programs. And then finally, enhance accountability, transparency in the education service. Now, what are the functions that the Education Service Delivery Unit is expected to do? Number 1 is quality assurance. Number 2, stakeholder engagement. Number 3, resource allocation and management. MIE, data management and reporting, and policy implementation. So from the earlier presentation, especially the presentation that Malan Hassan Abdulkadir Rimi made, he has established exactly how ESDU should be structured. However, in the implementation, we have phases of implementation. And in the first phase, we're going to look at the key functionaries that are not in existence within the existing system. In SUBEB, we have many other functionaries, many other systems, many people that are also saddled with responsibility of managing education. However, one of the weakest systems is how feedback is provided to schools. Because currently, even when we collect annual school census, it is during dissemination, just like a forum like this, that the results are going to be disseminated as a printed copies, and they will end up in the shelf. What of the teacher who provided that data? Do they know how their school is faring within the LGA? Do they know how their school is pairing with other schools within the state? So That feedback mechanism is going to be established and provided by this system. Now, let us look at some of the things that the Education Service Delivery Unit is going to address, especially in terms of the number of schools, the number of students that we have, and teachers. For example, we can see that in Katsina State, amongst the primary and junior secondary school, we have about 3,352 schools, about 2.9 million children, and with teacher qualification rate of about 78%. But qualification rate here is not enough to tell us whether that teacher is really delivering quality in the classroom. So this is where the ESDU is going to support in doing that. Attendance rate. This attendance rate here is based on hypothetical, mathematical computation. It's not accurate. It's not actual one, because the attendance rate today, if you want to know it, we have to go through all the attendance registers. We have to calculate from that, and that is the source of the data. But currently we don't have that for us to be able to do that. Imagine there is the need to go through in every school, in a primary school where we have 6 classes of 3 arms each. Okay, that's 18 classrooms. That's 18 admission attendance registers, and multiplied by 3,352 schools. That's huge. That means, how can we achieve that? It is only through digitalization. And the guys are going to demonstrate how this attendance is going to be done and how it's going to be managed. Now, we have challenges. What are those current challenges? Manual data management, which I have already mentioned earlier. So the digitalization and centralization will help in terms of having real-time data that is going to be used for decision making, delayed reporting, because this is real-time. It's going to happen. You are going to see that at your fingertips. If I will ask all of you here to go onto your Play Store and download the Katsina EMIS application and log into a particular school right here, right now, you're going to see what is the attendance of that particular school today, right now. Right here, you're going to see what is the attendance of teachers. Right here, you're going to see what is the result, what are the learning achievement of students, because it's real time. That means you don't have to deploy enumerators, you don't have to start, process of collating data. This is coming real time, and the reports are automated. All right, limited monitoring. This is one of the current issues that we have. We have pool of quality assurance officers, school of support officers, and they have tool. But this is where the challenge is. When you get to a classroom, for instance, and you're going to conduct lesson observation, usually we go with a checklist. After we strike in the checklist, then we have to come back to our offices and write a report. After writing a report, we submit it to our OGA. From there, it will go to Director, Quality Assurance Officer, Director at SUBEB level. Then at the end of the day, it follows a lot of channels, and the Director will see that, hopefully, the Director is going to take decision. But there are things that cannot wait, because that process can take a year before action is taken. That is when you have a primary 5 child already transiting to primary 6, or primary 6 student has already graduated. Or before action is taken, the students that you are supposed to address their learning outcomes right there and then, you cannot do it because it has taken a long time to get this report or this information. So when you conduct lesson observation, what is expected is to be able to see whether the teacher has the subject content expertise. If the teacher does not have subject content expertise, how are you going to support him as a school support officer? So this part, the tool that was developed part of this system, is automated. As soon as you hit the save button at the end of checklist, it will generate the feedback questions and the feedback that you're going to provide to the teacher. And there and then, as a quality assurance officer, you're going to engage with the teacher constructively, because this is generated from the system. You are not going to invent to start querying or to start shouting at the teacher, you are not doing this right or not. No, you already have a script that is generated based on the checklist that you have used. So these are some of the challenges, in terms of comprehensive monitoring, what this particular education service delivery unit is going to support. Resource inefficiency. So, for example, we know that recently SUBEB provided at least one single smart device to all the primary and secondary schools in Katsina State. Assuming that that particular device was given to another teacher within the school, how does the chairman SUBEB knows that this was the particular teacher that was given the tablet? Perhaps it's to use it for 2 hours. Does that teacher return it? If that teacher was transferred to another school, do we know whether the teacher have left with the device or not? So this is one example. When it comes to textbooks, and we want to distribute textbooks, one issue is that we have to start looking at our database. How many schools do we have? How many students? Then we start now distributing textbooks. But at the end of the day, we may end up giving a school that already received textbook last year additional textbooks. We may end up giving a school, you know, that doesn't require the textbooks, because we've seen many situations whereby even PTF provided textbooks are in some of the LEA stores today. So we don't know what is happening. But with this system, you'll be able to see whether the textbooks only get stuck at LG level, or were they transmitted to the school level. Because when they were given to the school, you'll be able to see that it was given to school A, and the person who received it is going to confirm that they have received it, and this is the quantity that they have received. So these are some of the resource management optimization that this particular system is going to provide. So we're talking about ESDU, but it is important we look at how the organizational structure is going to be. So just as I mentioned earlier, Malam has already established the ground of what should comprise the ESDU. In phase 1, that's why I mentioned earlier that it is phase-based implementation. We're going to look at the existing functionaries within SUBEB, and then see how this EMIS, Education Service Delivery Unit, is going to be formed, where we have gaps. Then where we already have existing functionaries, leverage on that. Then in phase 2, that is by next year, then we're going to see how these other departments or units are going to come into this particular system. But in the immediate, these are the key 2 units, sub-units that we need. Number 1, for this particular ESDU, we need somebody, a strategic leader, who is going to lead this particular unit. It is very pertinent, it is very important to really identify a strategic, technically sound person who has the background in terms of technical implementation and operational implementation. That person should manage or should head this particular unit. We have 2 subunits, or we are proposing 2 subunits. One of the subunit is technical lead, and we have the operations manager. Of the technical lead, we have the technical support unit. In the next slide, I'm going to talk about their responsibilities. We have the data management unit. Then under the operations, we have the stakeholder engagement and the M&E unit. Now the question is, how are we going to draw these people? We know that before we get a new recruitment, it will take time. Before approvals were given, before the process and the process of recruitment will really take time. But our proposal here is that we already have EMIS in SUBEB. We already have a newly established MIE unit in SUBEB. We have the existing social mobilization department. We have existing quality assurance. So that means it is the responsibility of SUBEB now to carefully look at these different departments, right? And to draw up people that are going to serve a technical and operation. When you look at operation, when we mention about stakeholder engagement, this is where we can see social mobilization department playing a key role. That means they can maintain that same portfolio, but now it's a unit with a more strategic implementation modality. And that means where we have this particular department, the department will continue to exist, but we are going to draw human resource from that particular department that are going to serve within the unit. However, within the service delivery unit, we need to recruit new people that can at least manage the technical deployment of the system. And this is where you have computer graduates that you employed as S-Power, That means you can draw up from this existing resource to form that particular unit, because we have young, vibrant professionals that can support with that, while we have a seasoned professionals that are going to support with implementation. So this is our proposal that we need to look at within the system, right, so that it will not take time before this unit is established. Let us get the unit up and running in the earnest, and as soon as the unit is up and running, then there is this plan to actually get other departments that are going to be formed according to what Malam Hassan has already provided. So when we look at these particular people, we can see the head of the ESDU is going to be responsible for strategic planning and oversight, is going to provide stakeholder management, is going to be responsible for resource allocation and performance monitoring. So these are some of the key responsibilities that we are proposing, or we've seen, of what is going to come out of what the head of ESDU is going to do. Technical lead key responsibilities were to deploy the EMIS to provide the technical oversight of the EMIS system that is going to be rolled out, responsible for system maintenance and update, and technical team management. So we have the technical lead, but we have the technical support unit, data management unit. So all of these different people are going to be under this particular subunit, and the lead of that subunit is going to provide, oversight function in terms of what these particular subunits are going to handle. On the operations, this is where we have the daily operations management, staff coordination, process optimization, and service delivery oversight. The reason for this is so that the quality assurance officers that we have at LG level, this is where I did not talk about, right? I only talk about the ESDU at state level. So at the LGA level, this is where we have the SSO, we have the EMIS, we have the PRS department, right? And we have all others that have the responsibility of ensuring that quality is maintained at school level. These are people that are going to form part of this particular unit. And the plan that SUBEB already has is to provide the equipment to this person so that they are able to function as expected in terms of delivering this particular exercise. So they're going to be given all the necessary tools they require, and all the capacity development that they need to be able to do that. So these are some of the key responsibilities that we are expecting these different people to handle. And in addition, in the second phase, this is where we're going to look at, okay, of this minimal viable product that we have, how are we going to get these other functionalities that were proposed in the earlier discussion? So I mentioned about the implementation timeline. So the first phase of this establishment is going to take about 3 months, which has already begun since November 2024. And this is setting up the infrastructure, getting the core team, and establishing the basic protocols. So all of these protocols are already there. And some of the things that we need to do is that we have the phase 2, which is going in concurrency with phase 1. So the phase 2 is the rollout of this particular EMIS system, training school level users, and also initiating data collection, because the system is not going to be functional without data, right? So we need to have learner unit information of so when we say learner unit information, the system will need to take the name, the date of birth, the parents' information, the blood group, and many other demographic information that are required. Because that is only how the result processing is going to work. That is only how the learning assessment data is going to be generated. That is only the way at which we'll be able to also track the daily attendance. So the daily attendance is not going to be done, okay, in my classroom, I have 60 students today, and all of the 60 are present. No. We are going to be able to know that Hassan Abdulkadir Rimi is present today, or Hassan Abdulkadir Rimi came late today, and that is going to be accessible real time. At SUBEB level, we are going to say it. At State Ministry of Education, whoever has access to this, at LGA level, the ES yourself, you're going to have this in your mobile device. And one beautiful function of this is that it works offline, because whether there is internet, whether there is signal at school level or not, the app is going to function seamlessly. It doesn't rely on internet. It doesn't rely on signal. So if you know ODK, for instance, you can use ODK to capture, but this is an advance of ODK, because as soon as you capture, it generates a report by itself. Unlike ODK, you can only collect data, but you cannot generate report. This is going to generate the report immediately at school level. Phase 3 will be an ongoing. That's why you can see for phase 3, there is no definition. And I like the way our Baba mentioned it. He said it is the beginning of the beginning. It is not even yet the beginning. So the phase 3 consolidation, that means we have to continue the iteration. It's a consolidation. We have to continue to consolidate the result, learn from the failures, improve on the failures, then continue to reiterate the cycle. So we have to expand the functionality, enhance user capacity, and continuous improvement, because year in, year out, we are going to have teachers phasing out, retirement. We are going to have new people coming in to serve. That means after we build the capacity of the key functionalities that are going to use this system, also they're expected to now at school level to build capacity of every teacher. That means eventually each and every class master, the way they mark their own attendance register, they go, they call Amina Shaibu present. It will take 2 seconds. Binta Abdul Mumini Tanaina, it will take 3 seconds. So that way, before you know it, 30 minutes is already gone taking attendance. The beauty of the attendance system that was built now is that as soon as we enter into classroom, as soon as you open the attendance page, everybody is going to be assumed present. That means as a teacher, you focus on those that are absent, because we know usually, typically, those that are absent are less than those that are present. That means you now focus on those that are absent. Okay, Hassan Umar is not available, so you only uncheck Hassan Umar. So it will take you only 1/4 of the time, typically, that is required to take attendance. That means we are saving up time using digitalization, and that is why we need digitalization, because the system will assume everybody is present. You only focus on those that are absent, maybe 1 or 2 or 5, and you are done. That means within 5 minutes, attendance is taken. If there is connectivity, even if it is 2G, that teacher sync that particular information. At that moment in time, the ES or whoever, the school support officer, the parents themselves, SBMC, they will be able to see that their child is absent. And the education policies state that if a child is absent consecutively for 6 weeks, that child is assumed dropout. So the system provides an early warning sign. That means by the time it is 3 weeks, a particular child is not present in school, it will trigger a notification to the SBMC, it will trigger the notification to the LEA, to the state, and even if the governor has the mobile app on his own device, it will notify him that X number of students are at a risk of dropout. And this is where they are. Then SBMC can be now ignited. Can you find out why Rabiatu is absent for 3 weeks? Maybe she's sick. Maybe she has she's sickle cell patient. That means they will say, oh, but she's not part of the conditional cash transfer that we are providing. And that means that is the need to now include her in the conditional cash transfer. So immediately you get action taken. If she is still at home and she is not feeling well, that means from the mobile app, if she happens to be somebody that either her parents have the app, then she can easily access the digital content that was taught in her classroom, and then she will be able to remediate the learning that she have lost in classroom right using the Katsina EMIS app. So these are some of the innovations that were provided within the application. So that means whether you are in classroom or you are not in classroom, you'll be able to get access to education. But interestingly, nobody talk about out of school children since when we begin. That means even for those that are not in school within the community, if their parents or their siblings they have access to digital devices. That means they will be able to have access to this content without the need to go into the classroom. This is one of the most important innovations that were provided. That means we are not only looking at those that are in school, but those also that are not in school. But importantly, even those that are in school, the last NALABE result indicates that only 27% of children in Nigeria can read simple sentences and solve simple mathematical problems. It doesn't mean that they cannot read. It doesn't mean that 70% cannot solve mathematical problem. What it means is that if 7-year-old child is expected to read 60 words per minute, but was only able to read 2 words per minute, that means that particular child has not met the minimum academic achievement. So what it means is that that particular child also has what is called learning deprivation. So we have not been looking at learning deprivation. Usually it is only after 4 years after the analysis. But how can we know today that we have X number of students that cannot learn? Because the learning assessment usually is sample based. But this will provide accessibility to be able to know all learners if they are having learning deprivation. So these are some of the key things that are going to continue to come under the phase 3. So we continue to reiterate to see how learning assessment is going to be conducted by teachers themselves. And as soon as the teacher completes deploying the learning assessment, as soon as the child responded to the questions, just like EGRA and EGMA, all the EGRA and EGMA tools are already in the application. And that means the teacher themselves will now administer EGRA and EGMA. And immediately the teacher is going to see that this particular child, this is the level at which they are. This particular child has surpassed the level that is expected. That means that is the need to take immediate action, maybe to revise the lesson and what have you. So these are the things that are going to be expected to be implemented and be supported by the ESDU. So I mentioned about the phases. I'm not going to talk about the details. We're going to share with you the details are all there. Initially a synopsis because of time. So sustainability is very key. And for us to sustain ESDU, there is the need for 4 different things to be considered. Number 1, financial sustainability. Number 2, technical sustainability. 3, institutional sustainability. And number 4, operational sustainability, which will come in the next slide. So in the financial sustainability, internal funding mechanisms will have to be established. Number 1 channel is the use of the annual budgetary allocation from SUBEB. Number 2 is integration into state education sector planning. So the sector plan, the sector budget should be able to allocate a certain percentage, 0.01% of the education budget at least should go to ESDU operations. Cost recovery mechanisms. Cost recovery mechanism may look vague, but what do we mean by cost recovery mechanism? Cost recovery mechanisms are situations whereby you have resources that you don't need in the immediate instance. Then you can invest those resources to operate the ESDU, but the ESDU is going to attract resources to the state. And this is exactly what TESS is doing, the program for result. Because you have to implement, and then as a result that you have achieved with the implementation, you get rewarded. So cost recovery mechanism will have to be established. But there is one of the cost recovery mechanisms that education sector is really missing out. One of it is the national identity, NIN. Not all students have NIN. It is only at a point when they are going to write their JAM that they will be required to get their NIN. And they go to the service providers to get their NIN. Did you know that of every NIN, of every person that registered and acquired NIN in Nigeria, that is a reward of about 50 cents, that is $0.5. And $0.5 today is around 700 naira. So usually this is how NIMC pays these service delivery people. You will see a private organization given license to register NIN, right? They will request maybe you pay 200 naira to get NIN. right? So they will charge 200 naira. But after they register, if they register 50,000 persons in a month or in a year, and they retire that back to NIMSI, NIMSI gives them that about 700 to 800 naira for every person they register. That means for them to do that registration, first of all, they will have to buy license from a NIMSI. For them to be able to do that, they will have to buy the equipment from NIMSI. So that is the investment they did. But the cost recovery now is from what NIMSI is paying them for registering each person. And NIMSI is being funded, that particular reward is funded by World Bank. That means if Katsina State government is going to register as a NIMSI provider, or is going to facilitate the NIMSI service providers to register NIN for student, that means Katsina State can generate of the 2.9 million students that we have in Katsina State, assuming Katsina State is going to invest the little resources or offset the service providers by paying the 200 naira per student. That means if Katsina State is going to invest 300 million naira to register NIN for student, that means Katsina State government can generate up to 800 million naira. For each 800 million naira for each 1 million children. That means for 2 million children, it will be about 1.6 billion naira. For 3 million students, it will be about 2.4 billion naira. That means the investment of about 500 million naira will yield 2 billion naira for Katsina State. So that 2 billion naira can now be channeled back to ESDU operation, and that means ESDU can be sustainable. And the following year, when we have a new enrollee of about 100,000 that are coming into primary one, that means they don't have NIN, and then they are registered at school level. That means there will be additional resources that Katsina State government is going to generate. We've supported Jigawa State to establish a register as a NIN provider, and last 2 months, Jigawa State has registered even 2 million farmers with NIN. Yes, the recovery, the reward may not come immediately because it will take about 6 months to retire and get back. But that is how you invest the resources that you don't need now, so that you reap the profit at later stage. So this is one of the proposals that we are putting forward to SUBEB to see whether Katsina State is going to be an NIN provider, or Katsina State is going to leverage on the service providers by offsetting the cost. Get NIN for this student. That will be a way that the ESDU can function. And the total assessment that we did for ESDU to function every year, the budget is total of 150 million naira. That means 1 billion naira can sustain ESDU for about 10 years. So these are some of the mechanisms that we need to think of to see how we can leverage on that. External funding. Development partners are also supporting a lot of businesses like this. Mala Awal knows about the EMIS system that, for example, World Bank has supported Luritz through Agile. UNICEF is supporting EMIS digitalization. That means if state is already having its own initiative, rather than getting or inventing the wheel, these resources can be channeled towards operationalization of state-owned solution. And this is state-owned solution. Private sector partnership. Private sector partnership is very important. I mentioned about the cost recovery using NIN. That is only one example. That means if today I'm a private sector organization and I can invest 100 million naira and give and say, okay, I have this money and I want to invest in Katsina State, and I invest 100 million naira. That means out of every 1 billion naira, I'm going to get 10% of what Katsina State government is going to get. So this is how also private individuals will need to come and fund education. This is not only ESDU. That means we need to establish and form public, private, civil society organizations, and this is where the KTSMB is going to support immensely, because it's an organization that will go out and get these partners for you. So you really need to leverage on already established boards that are going to support in doing that. Cost optimization are also one of the key ways. If we are drawing people from EMIS, from quality assurance, from social mobilization. That means that we can optimize the operation of these other departments and use the savings to operationalize ESDU. So these are some of the ways to look at that. Technical sustainability will include regular system update, hardware maintenance, technical assessment in terms of technology itself, because technology evolves. What you use today may be obsolete tomorrow. That means that is the need to continue to upgrade. Innovation integration. Today we have the likes of generative AI. At a fingertips, some of us will be able to generate things from AI. We should not be afraid of AI. We should be able to be accommodative to embrace AI, because whether we like it or not, people are going to use it, and they are going to use it to improve efficiency. So this efficiency can be generated. Capacity development are some of the things that we need to sustain. And we have a complete proposal for SUBEB. And the proposal, just a synopsis of the proposal, is that as outside of the learning lab, which is going to be happening every week, interaction between the teachers and the instructional leadership team, that is a complete package that we have developed for that. It should, number one, every term, at the beginning of every term, a week before a term will resume, there is the need for capacity development, school-based capacity development. And this is cost-effective because it's not going to cost resources. Assuming I'm a quality assurance officer and I have 10 schools, because I know typically SSOs usually have 10 or less schools that they are managing. That means a week before school resume, because I'm part of the ESDU and I am an ILT, and I have received training from those that trained me. That means a week before school resume, I will need to have 2 days session of 4 hours every day. We can select any day. Then engage with the teachers, look at the plan for that particular school, together with SBMC, because the ESDU cannot function without SBMC. So the ESDU, the school, at school level, the learning lab comprises the SBMC, the head teacher, and others. So you plan for the school. You look at the subject areas. Teachers will need to give you feedback. Okay, this is where I need support. Then you address. So that particular engagement will ensure that by the time the term resume, they already know that these are the issues that we need to address for our school. So that's one of the proposals. That means in a year, at least, the teachers are going to have contact time with the ESDU team members. But the ESDU team members are not just going to engage everybody, because we have many people and they are able to get insight from the lesson observation that was done last time. That means they can now actually divide the group of teachers into different categories of needs and now engage them based on that particular need. So that way we'll be able to strengthen the system. So policy framework. Currently, the ESDU was supposed to be established as a unit. But from the composition of this unit, we can see that it's a unit that needs policy backing to exist. That means while in the interim, because SUBEB has the liberty to revolve around 10% of structure of establishing SUBEB from the UBEC. That means at state level, you have up to 10% to revolve around. And the ESDU sits within the 10% of what SUBEB at state level can do based on requirement, because education is on concurrent list, as we say. That means being on concurrent list, we have to look at our needs, our requirements to do things. So while ESDU is established under the 10% of what SUBEB can do, there is the need to start putting forward policy that is going to back the ESDU, so that the ESDU is going to be getting also its resources directly from the state coffers. Because right now, funding is at LGA level. That means if ESDU that is at LEA level is established at LEA level, that means they need to also tap from the local government resources that are going to be channeled to the local government. This is very critical in terms of operationalization. So when we talk about the governance mechanisms, stakeholder management, these are the things that we need to do to really sustain the ESDU. Operational sustainability, process management, human resource, and resource management. These are some of the things. So in the interest of time, because we have another session immediately after prayer, right? It's going to talk about the functions. So we're going to move the Q&A till after that particular presentation on the functions. And after that presentation, we have about 30 minutes for interaction. And we're going to send mics to you, or if you can use your teacher's voice, then let us get your input so that the system can be improved upon, can serve the purpose of why we are here. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your patience in listening to me. Yes.
Let's ask the chairman.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Baba Gana, with this wonderful presentation. Mr. Chairman, sir, we are now seeking your permission. Are we to continue or to break for prayers? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman orders that we break for prayers, then we come back, then we continue. Thank you very much. Time, is it 10 or 20? 20 minutes. So by 10:30, we are going to resume, and 1:30, I mean. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are now breaking for prayers. Thank you very much.